Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having us. We are really excited to be here. I know we reached out a while ago. So we're really glad that you responded and we're able to share kind of our awareness of eating disorders with your community today.
Yeah.
Can you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Woohoo.
Cool. All right. All right. So thanks for the introduction. I'm Shira.
And I'm Tasha.
And we are from Beyond Rules Recovery. And today we just kind of want to share a little bit about eating disorders and the impact that it has on the community and how we can start kind of changing the norm of diet culture and, obsession around food and weight and our body.
So we have a serious problem on our plates.
Eating disorders.
So what eating disorders are? They are clinical diagnosis that's listed in the DSM-5. They consist of, abnormal eating behaviors, an obsession around food and body, obsession around exercise, and the idea of being healthy. That diet culture, like what Shira brought in. Disturbances in social connections, not really feeling like you fit in, isolation is a huge thing, chronic dieting, not able to cope with emotions, poor self-worth, poor self-image. Yeah.
So I think, we hear a lot about anorexia, but it's super important to know that there are many different kinds of eating disorders. Today, we're just displaying the ones that are out there. Anorexia and bulimia are probably, one of the ones that are most talked about. Binge eating disorder is actually the highest rate of type of eating disorder out there. ARFID is avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, is sort of an extreme sort of picky eater that really develops, into not being able to eat more than one or two types of food. Obviously malnutrition happens, and loss of weight. Orthorexia is kind of about that clean eating, healthy eating, just kind of wanting to be healthy, and exercise is definitely a part of that. Diabulimia is where people with diabetes manipulate their insulin to lose weight. Ednos is sort of a catch-all. If someone doesn't fit into one of these other eating disorders, that's their diagnosis is Ednos. And then the last few are just kind of highlight that overexercise is, a major eating disorder behavior. Laxative abuse can be incorporated. And the last one, pica, is where people eat non-related food items. So toilet paper, cleaning supplies, sand, rocks.
So who is affected? Anyone and everyone can develop an eating disorder. But we always say here at Beyond Rules Recovery, eating disorders are not a choice. However, your path to recovery is. So although we might not choose to develop an eating disorder, or our, environmental factors might, drive us towards that eating disorder, it doesn't mean you're stuck there forever. We definitely try to incorporate the idea that recovery is possible for anyone, no matter who you are, no matter how long you've had your eating disorder. Yeah.
So here's some of the risk factors that kind of play into developing an eating disorder: biological, psychological, and social. So actually 50% of eating disorders develop because of genetic history. A lot of times you'll see, grandparents, parents, daughters, and then unfortunately passing on to their kids. It's important to remember that it's not just females, it's males as well. And there's probably a lot more males struggling than we know, just because I think it's harder for them to come forward because of the image and just the norm that is kind of created around, a healthy body and exercise and that kind of thing. So we've got biological. The second is the psychological. So, these things can contribute to developing an eating disorder, depression, anxiety, OCD, perfectionism, body dissatisfaction. Now, everybody with all those things doesn't mean that they're going to develop an eating disorder, but those are, if they have sort of the biological traits and they also have these psychological, challenges, they will be more susceptible to developing one. And then lastly, we have social, which includes environmental. It includes sort of your upbringing. Trauma is a huge part of, people's development of an eating disorder. And, the media, sports, school, family, any kind of relationship, coaches, anybody that really has like an influence on somebody can be, a kind of a trigger to someone developing into their eating disorder.
So going into some early warning signs of eating disorders, not wanting to be around others when eating, drastic weight changes, either an increase of weight or decrease of weight, hoarding food, not wanting to, or making certain comments about their body, making certain comments about food, again, having that obsession of exercise and wanting to move or needing to move or feeling the need to move, having a difficult time sleeping is also a big one that seems to be overlooked. Constant crash dieting, again, like I said, not able to cope with emotions or coping poorly with them, hoarding food, being really obsessive about, the healthy, unwell, healthy, like this food is good for me, this food is bad for me, avoiding certain foods or avoiding groups of foods like carbohydrates, fats, all of those are also some pretty strong warning signs.
So here's just kind of a little bit of the statistics that's currently out there. Eating disorders are one of the deadliest of any mental illness. One person dies every 52 minutes of an eating disorder. And our economy, it costs about $64.7 billion yearly to support those that are struggling with eating disorders. So this includes outpatient, inpatient, residential, dietitians, just family burdens, having to take time off of work. 1 in 5 deaths are results of suicide from eating disorders, and only 1 in 4 individuals will achieve full recovery, which is not a very good chance of achieving full recovery. And I think Tasha and I are probably some good examples of people that were told, recovery was not possible for us because we had struggled for so long. And, fortunately, we have both found our way out of the eating disorder and into full recovery. And it's not an easy road, but we are here to support other people through our mentorship program. And, we want to change that number. And so far we have, with the people that have come through Beyond Rules Recovery. And so just, really excited about the future and all that could hold.
Early intervention is something that really.
I'm going to interrupt you for just 1 second here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to get our more stable internet.
Okay.
Here, give me just a moment. I don't.
So both sides actually. Is Zoom give us that banner warning, but also their part about that part of the video is a little unstable. So it's both sides.
Okay.
If we turn on our video and that bottom one.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
There's not any.
No. Okay, I think that's as good as we're going to get. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
That's okay. Yeah. So can you guys still see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. So early intervention is something that we focus on here at Beyond Rules Recovery. We really try to encourage you know, families, you know, those early warning signs when they start to come about, to take action immediately. And the reason why early intervention is so important is because, you know, it prevents the brain from developing those neural pathways that are associated with the eating disorder. You know, and when those are disrupted early on, then the individual is much more likely to reach and maintain a full recovery. You know, there's less disruptions to their daily life. Their physical bodies don't take as much of a toll, and as they are a lot more resilient and to recover from it. You know, it's definitely a less less of an impact on families and financials. You know, people are not having to take away time from their families or work or anything like that. So really early intervention, we really hone in on, because it really increases the percentage of or the likelihood of an individual maintaining a full recovery.
So we just kind of want to create a picture of what traditional treatment for eating disorders is like. It is a very one-size-fit-all approach, very clinically based. There's definitely standardized methods to helping people restore weight and gain their nutrition back. Everyone is put on a meal plan. You know, there's a progression, so kind of a hospital, inpatient, residential, partial, intensive outpatient, and outpatient. And a lot of people kind of get to one place and then have to revert back, maybe then move up to, then have to go back one. And it's not uncommon for people to need treatment 7 or plus times. Either they find recovery or they plateau and they just kind of stay where they are, or unfortunately, a lot of them don't make it. So it's, you know, the picture I think that people think of treatment is this, you know, beautiful place. It's like a retreat. You know, you're going to go there and you're just going to get healed. And that is really not what happens at treatment. It's very stringent. A lot of rights are taken away. You know, there's people that are really not fully educated about eating disorders. It's a lot of people's first jobs outside of school. So they're trying to counsel people that they have no idea really the background of eating disorders. And then I think the biggest thing that we don't really talk about much is when you put, you know, 100 people that have eating disorders in the same place. Eating disorders are a lot about comparison and competition. So you put 100 people that are struggling with their own body image with each other, they're all sort of competing with each other to be sicker than the other person. If that person isn't eating, they don't want to eat. And I mean, I could go on and on about sort of the ramifications of treatment, but you know, it's important to know that I think what's portrayed is not really what treatment is like. And then for inpatient, a day of treatment is about $2,000. That's for inpatient / residential. And, you know, sometimes people can be there for 3+ months.
So this is a little bit about us as Beyond Rules Recovery. So the nonprofit began in Bloomington in July of 2019 and has gone through quite a bit of transitions and brought us to where we are today. So currently our programs include mentoring. So Shira does the one-on-one peer mentoring with family members, people who are affected and people who are, you know, supporters of that individual who's struggling. Then we have our support groups. These are our virtual support groups that are offered internationally. We've had people from, you know, all over the world come and join. So it's been fun to really be able to build up a community that's, you know, doesn't just stay in the state of Minnesota or Georgia. So we have our adult groups that are running weekly right now. Again, they're virtual on Sundays. And then, you know, we have in the past done adolescent and athlete groups, which we are hoping to start again in the future once we get more interest. And then we have our presentations, which is more of an awareness creator for eating disorders. So we really want to try to bring our own stories of hope in to help, you know, bring that light of recovery into other people's. And then we have our workshops and trainings, which we've actually had a lot of fun with. We've spoken to, I mean, everybody between dance studios, coaches, schools, teachers. We went to a church or a college a couple weeks ago, spoke at chapel there. And so what we do is we really try to increase, the self-confidence, help people understand, the importance of eating normally, breaking the diet culture, really helping them develop tools and gain knowledge of, their own bodies and understanding really the importance of nutrition that's not impacted by diet culture.
Yeah. So here at Beyond Rules Recovery, we focus on empowering individuals to choose recovery for themselves. I think that's super important because, when you are sort of forced to do something, it's not really long lasting. But when you choose something for yourself and you're really putting the energy, that's really when change can happen. So what makes a Beyond Rules Recovery different than a regular treatment center? Well, first and foremost, it's 100% peer run and led. So people that are helping other people reach their own recovery have gone through it themselves. I think that makes a really big difference when you're talking to somebody. There's a lot of times where I hear, my therapist just doesn't understand, or I don't want to tell them certain things because I don't know how they're going to react, or I'm ashamed of saying certain things. But then you get to somebody, that's a peer that's actually lived through it, and sort of that wall is broken down. And so people become a lot more open and receptive, and, listening to suggestions and feedback is just a whole different ballgame. We really work on, incorporating the family, individualizing care. We don't believe in meal plans here. So we have our own kind of system of helping people restore weight and nutrition, and then working towards intuitive eating by the time they're done with our program. And, just developing new ways to see yourself in this world. And I think a lot of people that struggle don't really have a voice. And so gaining that voice back and being your own individual person really makes, somebody want to recover and kind of feel like they are worth recovering for.
So our impact on the community, we have, our niche is really helping with adults with chronic and persistent eating disorders. Again, we really try to embrace that idea of that everybody, it's possible for everyone to recover from an eating disorder. Excuse me. And you might have to take over.
Yeah. So we do kind of focus on that, as Tasha and I, have both been sort of in that chronic place. We know what it's like. We understand sort of the difficulty. We understand the people kind of giving up hope on you, and just feeling like there's really no other option except to live in your eating disorder. So we have helped people, go back to school, get off of disability and food stamps, and just like actually finding a passion for life and a new direction. And then the second sort of, place that we love to help is those newly diagnosed, because we hope that this is a one-time, you do it the first time and you don't have to go back. That's our goal. I just started working with a 19-year-old and just recently sort of diagnosed. She's been struggling for a while, but the hope is that she's going to go through it once. She doesn't have to, relapse, and she can just do it and move on with her life.
So what is needed for full recovery? We do talk about this a lot, especially with family members and support systems who are support people who are working with that individual. So a few things: new coping mechanisms. We help individuals develop new ways to cope with, life's challenges, cope with emotions, just find different ways that are that help a person grow versus hinder a person. We help them develop more of a positive self-image by helping them find new verbiage, some positive self-talk. Regular eating is something that is so important that I think a lot of people believe that, who are struggling, think that that's kind of the last that should come. A lot of the times that we've seen is like, oh, I need to work through this trauma before I start eating again, or I need to work on my depression before I start eating again. When in reality, like your brain will not function without eating normally. So you aren't able to do any kind of healing unless you're getting the right nutrients. So we really focus on first and foremost with anybody who starts working with us is making sure that they're eating regularly and they're eating enough. Another big thing is beliefs. We really help others try to change their belief system and what they believe around, diet, food, even labels of food, healthy, unhealthy, bad versus good. We try to change all of those to make them a lot more neutral. Help people develop that flexibility with food and eating, and really break away from all of those like diet culture messages and really help people develop their own person.
So if you're, concerned about somebody and you're thinking, I need to, say something, we believe that you should say something because, it's the only way people are going to recognize that something is wrong. But it's important to remember, just make sure that you're sort of getting the facts, you're not jumping to conclusions, and, using I statements. I care about you, I'm concerned about you. And lastly, don't bring up these topics around food or meal.
So supporting someone with an eating disorder, ways that you can be a good role model or example, like I said, regular eating, being a role model of that, not using food labels, not labeling foods as unhealthy, bad versus good, like I said, not commenting on your body or anyone else's body or anybody else's decisions about food or exercise. Being available to them, being available to listen for support. You don't necessarily need to have all of the answers to help them. Sometimes, a lot of the times, people who are struggling just need somebody to listen. So that is another big thing.
So let's take the emphasis off appearance. So instead of saying, wow, you've lost so much weight, you look so trim, how have you lost your weight? I think when we first greet people, it's just so easy to comment on their looks. But, instead of that, maybe focusing on how great it is to see them, what have you been up to? Tell me, what's new in your life. And not really commenting on the physical part of somebody's body or well-being.
So this is just a small graph to show our impact on our community that's coming in our doors. So we sent out a survey asking people to rate their recovery, motivation, support, confidence, and purpose and symptom use on a scale of 1 to 5. And as you can see, there's been a significant difference. A lot of people have higher numbers, in the motivation and feeling supported area, and then a decrease in numbers for symptom use. So we've really seen a lot of development and a lot of people really break through some awesome, break through their shells, totally develop a whole new life than they were living before. So that's been cool.
So a couple ways that we have benefited individuals' recovery, is really important building that support system. We love to start off our adult groups and even the mentoring, just, what has been a victory this past week, share some successes, and just really taking the focus off of weight and learning to really challenge the eating disorder to make lifelong changes.
So ways to get involved with us, any way that you can just share our mission with your peers and colleagues, whether it's just word of mouth or voicing, a concern, any way that you can help spread our mission is a great way to support and get involved. Referrals, if you ever know anybody who could be struggling or know of a family who might have someone struggling, please give them our name. We are more than happy to assist, or if you need help in assisting someone as well. And then help us build connections. Like I said, we've done a lot of work in schools, coaches, sports teams, churches, all of that. And, we're always looking to get our education and workshops into other communities. So any way that you can help us build connections with the different schools or, Girl Scout, Boy Scouts is on here, any kind of those, any type of organizations like those would be helpful.
So our website is at the bottom. We are also on Facebook and Instagram. It's super easy to get in touch with us, info@beyondrulesrecovery.org. And is there anything else?
I think you got it.
Cool. So again, thank you for having us. We have a few minutes to answer some questions if you have any. Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? I'll be the relay person.
They're located in Georgia now, is that right?
You're located in Georgia, is that correct?
Yes, we are. Our headquarters is still in Minnesota. We relocated our family to Georgia, and so we also established a chapter here in Georgia.
Yeah, I can ask a question.
No question.
Is there a noticeable proportion of women who are served versus men, or do they see both?
Were you able to hear that?
Not really.
Is there a difference in proportion of men versus women being served?
Yeah, we have helped men and boys. It's always a lot smaller than females. But like I said, there are a lot of males struggling that haven't come forward. And I think, we're just trying to change that stigma that, anybody deserves help, and, you don't have to be a female to come to our program.
Mhm.
Us sharing this video out after the fact.
Yeah. Are you okay with us sharing this video out amongst our Rotary fans and supporters?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
thank
having
you.
us.
Applause for all the people out here you can't see. We got about a dozen people out here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us and
Have-
reaching out.
Yeah, have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.